Surprise day. Surprise podcast. We've all been shit.
We've all been shit.
No, I got a message from Facebook. So I need to fucking manage my audio. So that's there, and I need to turn that off. That's off. Okay, that too then. Okay. That's all the volume stuff set and done. Yay.
Hopefully you sound okay.
Yeah. I mean, I sound as good as I ever will. Oh, I'm just gonna be
Can
like,
you fire out the
yeah, I'm doing that right now.
messages as well.
YouTube. Cool, that's done there. That's there done.
Okay. You're trying again.
Yeah. Okay. That's the best part. I love the fact that YouTube alerts me, and Twitch never does. Yeah, like YouTube literally pinged my front screen, and I'm just like, yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see who slowly felt it.
Oh, great! The Stream Elements bot. I love. Hey, Jen, you good?
Oh, stream burning bot running elements. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it hasn't worked in ages, so it finally just worked on YouTube. Normally, I try to do commands on YouTube, and it just kind of tanks itself. Oh, did I tell you that I got Jules Susan for the podcast? Did I tell you that?
You got who again?
Jules Susan, don't you know?
Oh yeah, the one of Edith, the creator of Edith, right?
Yeah, I got the creator either, but I also got someone else yesterday. It's been like 6 hours since I got that person. I haven't even updated anybody.
Yeah, the one when I said who is that? Is that Soap's altar?
It's soup. It's soup and soup and salt. Soup and salt.
Yes, and I was like, oh, hang on, soap or salad, and then this is soup and salt, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah. It was just, I mean, that way we can at least get. Oh shit! I got pinged. What do they want?
Who ping?
Oh, it was a friend asking me questions. Nothing super important. Super. Hey, Joakim, what's up, dude? Welcome. Sorry for not announcing this on any social media. Hey Jay, sorry for not. Yeah, we decided to actually get this one done because we'd been basically I got really depressed that we didn't do it last week, and Kaz was being all supportive because she's the most supportive person ever. If you and she also keeps me from doing anything particularly stupid when it comes to my ideas. So I decided to make sure I made it today. Also known as I didn't sleep for 4 days. Yeah, guys.
Oh my god.
That's planning. I instantly
pass out. If you collapse in the middle
out.
of our stream, I'm just gonna be like.
Yeah, that's how I instantly pass out in the middle of the stream like a professional. I've been writing my dissertation, so I'm barely sleeping to be quite honest.
Oh gosh.
That's been an experience. Okay.
Yeah, just waiting for you to come in.
I love the title of our podcast today. This was Kaz's idea, by the way. The title was Kaz's idea. Baptism.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Baptism by fire. The greatest structure ever. Oh.
See who else I post to.
Hey, Winter Poison, what's good? Who's Winter Poison? Do I know? Do I know you? Have you been
Winter
here
Poison.
before? It's always nice to
Well,
see
new
names that I
people.
recognize.
Yeah, new people always nice to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Joachim's last name because I don't know how to say it correctly. But
Dial
oh yeah,
Oyalegan,
like
something like that. Like,
it looks like a name from my home country.
oh god.
Yeah, it does. Like it looks like a Yoruba name, and I don't know how to say it. I'm pretty sure it's not as well. I'll just get super disappointed. Oh god damn it! Everyone, home. Yeah, Jen. I have a home country. This British accent isn't homegrown. It's developed from years of watching the same television show, the best television show, Top Gear. Boy, Yana, boy, don't at me. Okay, let's see.
Nan, what the fuck?
Oh my god, yeah, I almost got his name right. I know your home country. We're from the same place. I like this Joachim guy. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were Scottish or Irish.
Irish? Come on, do I sound like I'm not?
Irish.
Am I allowed to make IRA jokes? Yes.
Girl.
No.
I mean, you know what? With caution.
With caution. I mean, currently it's Brexit season, so like, if I make an IRA joke, I think I'm going to hell.
I guess.
I'm not going to talk about Brexit because every time I talk about Brexit, I get super sad.
There's no end in sight, is
No,
there?
because look, if you guys would have sent me anything and you know where I live, which that's like one of 3 people ever, and you just send it before March 29th. If it's food after March 29th, it's fucked. It's gone. it's dead. Okay. Oh Jesus. I live in Spain. I don't. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, some people saw last week's podcast. Before we start, I'm just going to talk about the stuff that you've not seen. So some of the comments from last week's the podcast from 3 weeks ago. We put in
last week. No, last week. It's the last podcast.
Yeah, and then we put it in. I put the highlights up when we were supposed to do the last podcast, which we missed because we suck. I mean, correction, I suck. They're all really good. I was like, I overslept, and I also then fucked up my computer, and I woke up. So it was pure genius. But after the last the highlights that we put up recently, I got some really good comments from Ayashi, who is also one of our patrons. And he gave some really constructive added points on the monetization thing. So, and they're very long and it's lengthy. Yeah, Ayashi.
I think I know who that is.
You probably might. You might. He's been on a couple of times.
Yes, because Ayashi, if his username is Fuyashi,
yeah, that's Fuyashi.
So that is Therian Trope's editor.
Yeah, I know. I've known him for a while, and I just hang out in the server. It's so fun.
I'm not in the server because it's like there's so many to keep up with. He did ask me if I moderated, and I really couldn't. But I talk to him every now and again in Kara's or like privately because he works in publishing.
Yeah.
So I want to see these notes, man. Like
it's in the comments. It's in the comments. He put like a really long comment.
Oh, in the Patreon comments?
No, not in the Patreon comments. In the YouTube comment. If you go to the YouTube channel and you don't check the YouTube channel like I do. I literally have an app that tells me when people comment because YouTube has a creator app that most people don't know exists, but is a thing. And well, it tells you whenever people comment or say anything, and you just go in there and read. Hey, Archangel, what's good, buddy? How are you feeling? And it just tells you when people comment, and like you can read the entire comment from your phone and reply. But that last highlight seemed to be very, very positively received. People seem to like it a lot. It was useful to them. I say very. I mean, yeah, for us, it's very positively received. Also, people really like the sugar daddy comment. I mean, Kaz is right. You need a sugar daddy if you want to do art forever.
Well.
I mean, that's not what we said, but I'm gonna say that's what we said. I'm gonna pervert the information we put out. Why am I in charge? What?
Did he check out the full podcast?
Yeah, he watched the whole thing.
Because the comment was left on
on the highlight. Yeah, but then he watched the whole thing. He's watched all of them apparently. Didn't tell me he watched all of them.
Oh my god! Has he actually?
He's watched the shit ones.
Oh bless! Oh no!
I'm gonna say I officially took the really bad podcasts off of the list, like the original, one of the original like 7, which I say bad, I mean like the really not good quality ones, off of the playlist for the podcast. So that means you don't start the podcast playlist listening to some of our least good work.
Oh no!
I took it off the playlist. It's still on the channel. You can still access it, but it's not on the playlist anymore. So like, go back and listen at your own risk. The microphone quality is dog shit. The variable volume. Should I do highlights for those casts? Should I bother?
Yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
I'm asking you. This is your decision now. I'm making you make this decision.
I just said I just said highlights for which one?
Let's say like the nano list one.
We didn't even have a nano list one.
I thought you did. Oh no, sorry. The flow one, the one on flow.
I wasn't there for it.
Were you not? I don't remember who was on that now. I've got to like scroll back. I'm like YouTube scrolling back through our videos. I would do one for Jello. The flow. No, we did do nano list. Literally, the first indie was nano list. It was episode 3. Exco was episode 4. Flow was episode.
We didn't do nano list. The name was wrong.
Oh, was
you didn't listen to it? My God, like I've been saying that the name's been wrong for a while.
Kaz, do I look like I know how to read? Don't ask me these questions. and yeah, Archangel, I saw the video. It was actually really cool. I liked it and stuff. Okay. Since it's been like all of 12 minutes since we started, you good to start? You ready to start? You breathing? Good. Breathe deeper.
Hang on, let me see what else is that.
Okay. Oh, since you're doing that, and then Joe can ask me a question. One of my favorite webtoons. My current favorite webtoons are all in one video that we've made and are currently editing, and it's taking forever because we have like no time. But one of them is a comic called Last Stop. Oh God, called Last Stop, and it's really fun. You should check it out. It's just if you want like dumb superhero fun, and I mean that in a good way, by the way, not in like a derogatory tone. Another place to see all the stuff that I currently am reading, or Kaz has seen, or any one of us are like reading and like, is whenever you're on our social media, like our Twitter or our Instagram, we post
like I mean stuff on Instagram to show like
underrated stuff.
We put really nice pictures of them.
Yeah, and like those are also stuff that we're currently into in general. I wouldn't put it.
Chicken Nugget Dog agrees because he's on my lap now. And
Chicken Nugget Dog isn't barking. This is the best day ever.
Well, yeah, but he's quite cool now because he sat on my lap. I think I don't know. We might have to ask Zebra to draw
We should ask Zebra. Zebra is currently drawing something for our website, so that's useful.
Oh, what is she drawing?
We needed a couch image for the website, and I was like, "Hey Zebra, can you do that?" And she said, "Sure." So that's
the couch image. Are you sure this is not going somewhere?
This is not what you think it is. Look at how she perverts my thoughts. All right, I do my goddamn best to be such a good Samaritan in society. Let's see. If you do not already know our social media, we are Webcomics Hub, all one word, on Instagram, and we are at the WCHubcast and at Webcomics_Hub on Twitter. We actually have 2 accounts on Twitter. Definitely not because of boosting analytics or anything. Just because we needed to claim both names, clearly. Chub. Oh God, I love the Chubs. You ready, Kaz? You good now? You finished your thing?
Go for it. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Cool.
I'm just wondering where else I should promote. So yeah.
Actually, I should have put a tweet out on the official Twitter but I didn't.
Please do that.
Look, man, all right? Don't ask me to be capable. Like,
Man.
you're expecting quality where there is none. Like, there is nothing here but lackluster ability.
Plus.
How do I spell surprise?
Surprise, mother thought. I just censored myself up there, so
yeah, I like that. You tried so.
Well, but the reason being is because I don't really want to get banned.
We can't get banned for saying the F word, because if not, we'd have gotten banned ages ago.
Oh yeah, well, definitely.
It would have all been my fault as well. Shit. I accidentally wrote Webcomics instead of Webcomics in the hashtag. Alright, the tweet is out. I repeat, the tweet is live. Oh yeah, I know we can say those. I know we can say those words, but I'm not allowed to say those words, Archangel, because the man is holding me down. Also known as there are force. Oh my God, Sesame, fuck.
Yeah. So Sesame knows.
Sesame
What's up?
knows.
Hey, Sesame, shush.
She knows the truth.
He
knows the truth. Terrifying. You guys wonder why.
Hang on, let me get him.
Okay.
Sesame.
Sesame's screaming some serious dog profanity right now. Oh God, I love the downtime where we can just talk about random shit. By the way, if you do have any random questions you want to ask me, this is the best time to ask me. Because when we start, I'll be so focused, I won't actually notice what you say all the time if it's not relevant.
There we go.
You got Sesame handled?
Yeah, he's on my lap now.
Where are my streams? These are my streams, man. These are my streams.
Yeah.
Okay. Dissertation has kept me from doing the other ones. All right. I know. All right, cool. Next meme.
We can get going, I think.
Yes, we can. Next meme. Look at that professional sliding animation into the next animation.
Oh my God.
I don't even know if this is the right back screen.
Oh God, I just saw that Archangel saying Sesame is screaming profanity right now.
Yeah, your dog
yes, well, it's
an offensive one.
Well, he's like by my feet right now, so it should be okay. So I mean, for Sesame feel like Captain America. Whoosh your language, son. Whoop whoop.
Jesus Christ.
That's happened? A good one. So, yeah, for those of you who've just joined, and you don't know us already, I'm Kaz, and that there is Nen, although his notes say I'm socially awkward.
Yeah.
For some reason.
What? I am socially awkward. I mean,
that's you, Nen.
Yeah, that's the introduction. I had a worse introduction. I deleted it because it was not as funny.
What were you going to say?
I'm not gonna say it because you're just gonna judge me. Oh God. Hi, yeah, I'm socially depressed. I'm socially repressed. I'm forever depressed. It's beautiful.
Okay.
It's a great fit.
But yeah, so I mean, between the two of us, we host and I moderate mostly, but we host the Webcomics Hubcast, and we've been doing this for a while now, and sort of finally hit our stride for it. So today is an indie show, which was supposed to have been done last week.
Yes.
But because of some technical difficulties here and there, we've only been able to replace it now.
Pretty much. That is actually a really good summary. I'm quite impressed.
You do know that I am paid to rephrase things here and there, right? So it is kind of a skill I have to hone from time to time.
It is the best skill. I love it.
Okay, so I mean, so the title does say it's High Space Boyfriend. What the hell? Do you know these?
Yeah,
do you know this
I
person?
know who that person.
Oh God!
He's from my.
Didn't even spell the name correctly.
It's fine. He's from my other Twitch.
Space Boy Finn, are you like are you like a space boy with like a
Sesame
one
be
fin
like
like
Captain
a fish?
America, wolf chill language. Kabuto, I like you. You've got you've got Moxie, kid. You've got Moxie.
Then can I live with you? Kick. All right. Yeah, so what we are covering, the title says it's like, baptism by fire, but what actually is going on is how you might want to start out doing comics, because it's really overwhelming figuring out where you want to go start from. And then you might work with on your own, you might work with a team. So we have a special part where we do talk about how it's best to work with teams and all that, because you might think it's really obvious that you need team player skills, and you might need like this and that, but sometimes you kind of have to slightly point out the obvious, or the obvious is not so obvious for some people. So you never want to take anything for granted as to like what people know, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But before we start, I wanted to say that today's podcast, as with all podcasts, is brought to you by Mosa Box. There's more on that at the end.
Moso!
Moso is the best.
Yeah, I believe yeah, there you go. He's listening in.
Oh my god, are you like always here checking to make sure that we're saying the thing? I bet that's what he does.
He knows we're always saying it.
I bet he literally sits there and just listens, and then after we say it, he leaves. Every podcast he just sits there and goes, yes, good.
Carry on with the plug.
Yeah. I won't put more in the end because I'd like to put them at the end. No, I don't know. Do you want to?
No, but we should just say like Mosa Box here is a retailer of cool waifu merch.
Such waifu.
Yeah, it's waifu merch, whether it comes from your mainstream franchises like Fate Grand Order, Gold's Frontline, and Azure Lane and the like, or if it comes from indie franchises, because he's got stuff from Merryweathery and Cartless.
Yes.
If you guys know them from Webtoon, well.
And if you're a connoisseur of the right kind of waifus, he's got 2B on there in a poster that's quite large that I definitely didn't just order for myself.
Did you actually?
I'm not revealing jack shit. No one can know. I can't even put it up because people come into my room. So
what are you gonna do?
Just gonna put it in a corner. Yeah, like every couple of days I'll just open it up, roll it out, and just be like, yes, Mosa Box.
Yeah, you roll out your waifu and just stroke her gently, and you roll her back up.
Just be like, this is what high quality printing feels like.
But yes, so that's what Mosa Box does. He's also at cons around North America. Yes. It has a physical presence there if you want to go and see your waifu loot for yourself.
Yes, and if you want to get some good deals on Mosa's merch, which is $5 off any orders of $50 and up, which trust me is very easy to hit when you see all the beautiful waifus everywhere. If you want $5 off your order, use the code WCHUB on checkout. And 50 that's it really. That's the whole thing. Thank you for listening to the plug. You can never say.
No, you're supposed to say thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that's the wrong code. That's the wrong fucking code.
Oh, well done.
I always forget them, and then I have to I'm a professional, I swear.
Professional.
Oh,
right.
God.
Let's hit the ground running. I mean, we've got our notes here and we are raring to go.
Woo. Okay. Then I think where we're gonna start, as all things start, is at the start of a comic. As in starting your comic. How does one go about it? How have they gone about it? And why is it bad? Well,
and yeah, I think a lot of people it's really hard to give really specific advice on how to start a comic if you are, say, if you're an airy person, you go up to a really pro comic artist and you just go, Mister, or Miss, how do you go about this whole comic business? Please, Ashia, tell me, could I please? And, oh gosh,
who are you? Who
this
is
this
this?
this was for the weebs right there, like, you know, just, I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah. So I mean, it's really hard to like say everything in one. I mean, in one go, especially because if you know, if you're worth your salt, often you would probably ask them for their comic portfolio, and
Oh
you would,
yeah.
like, you know, give them tailored advice. But
Yeah.
there's not enough time to give it for in a general sense. So people say, just do it. I mean, also Shia LaBeouf or
Yeah.
Nike stuff.
Yeah.
Just do
Oh
it.
my god. She's so
Which
excited today,
is
which is great. But I
yes
mean,
and not very
yes,
helpful.
exactly. Just do it is both helpful and not helpful in that, like, okay, for most things in life, if you keep asking yourself, you won't get it done. Same thing with comics. But if you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding and you're like, yo, I need to start a comic, tell me how, right? And I just go,
Daughter's
yeah, I
wedding.
know, right? That just snuck in that Godfather reference there. And I just go, just do it. That's the most lackluster advice ever.
Yeah.
It's kind of spitting in your face a little bit because it's me saying it to you like as if you don't know that is the first step. Because I mean, we all have to assume that you know that that's what you have to do. And I think maybe it's also a problem to do with phrasing of the question, because I assume what most people mean when they say how do I start is more like, do I need to know anything? What's the information I need to know before I get, into doing this thing that I might end up doing for a week or
The
a
rest of my
year
life.
or forever. Sneaky breaky. Welcome.
Oh, it's Sneak. Hey, comics ban all those better. So Sneak writes, and yeah, and sometimes doodles.
Sneak, I
So
disagree with you so much, but I love you so much, so hi.
yeah. Yeah, I know him from another art community, so
Yeah.
he should to
He's
listen to.
good.
Yeah, he is. He's also British though, Nan. So I think you guys would get
Oh,
on.
are you? How do you feel
Yeah, he
about
is.
how do you feel about the Queen?
Dear Lord,
I love
I
it.
dare say.
Oh my god. I love I so genuinely love the Queen. I'm saying that purely because whenever you say you don't like the Queen in the UK, it's like you've committed an act of treason.
So so the whole thing about, like, you know, just do it is that there are some people who do take that advice to heart and just literally dive in. They see what a comic looks like. They think they know how to replicate the process, and they end up like just, you know, trying to write a script, trying
Yeah.
to draw a panel because they hear words here and there about the scripts.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough, you might hear a word called storyboarding, and then, you
Storyboarding.
know,
A beautiful thing that nobody
yes,
does until they realize that it's so much easier than not doing that. Just
yes, indeed.
if you're ever gonna make anything that has a visual medium in it, right? Which is most things, like anything that's purely all about the visuals, better fucking storyboard. Not even joking.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
you need to storyboard. Movies need storyboarding. YouTube videos need storyboarding. Fucking comics that are all panels need storyboarding.
Music videos freaking need storyboarding.
Yeah, like, oh my god, it's terrifying when you see those storyboards. They're so detailed. But yeah, like, learn to storyboard. Don't be a fucking idiot. I know it's easier to not storyboard. Trust me, I respect that so much. But you will be so much happier the day you kind of sit there and you go, I actually know what I'm going to draw for this panel. And I didn't just guess.
I think what happens is, like, sorry, I just had to cut in because like lots of beginners struggle with too much freedom, actually, because it's like kind of playing a huge open world game versus a simple platformer.
Yeah.
So that's why starting out is like for them.
Yeah, I get
Because
you.
when you're just starting out, it's nice to have some like guidelines in place versus, like, you know, you leave everything up to you to world build and manage on your own. So
Yeah, I mean, I know I get that, and that's a very big issue, but it's like you just need to rein yourself in. Like, another thing, and you need to rein yourself in. Another thing that's tied to the storyboarding, and another thing tied to the freedom thing is a lot of first-time creators say this one line that forever has always upset me.
which is
I have too many ideas and I don't know what to make. Whenever I start making something, I end up having to I go and make another thing. Hey, thanks for the host, buddy. I can't read that name. Is that Merriweather? No, it's not. Is it? I don't
No,
know.
that's me.
Oh, that's you?
If it's Japanese, it's
all
me.
Japanese characters. I can't read Japanese. Don't ask me these questions, guys.
Yeah, I just put it up on my channel as well, just in case.
It's the kind of thing he
anyone
does.
cares about.
Yeah. Anyway, another thing that a lot of first time creators say, it pisses me off to no end, is I have so many ideas, I can't focus on one thing enough. Some people who've been making stuff for a while also say it, and I get it. I get that you have a lot of ideas, and I get that it's easy to get distracted and bored with what you're making, but like, don't. I don't know how else to put that one, because that one is all about the fact that you've got too much freedom, and think you have like no real choices. It's better for you to go and just kind of like narrow down all the things you think you need to do, all the things you want to do, and just do one and just finish it. Even if you get kind of bored, at least finish it, because if you keep jumping from story to story, you will never get shit done, and you will forever be stuck in that limbo of having to go like, well, I've never finished anything.
I think your first comic really doesn't. Definitely, your first comic really does not have to be perfect. But but if for some people who think that's still like too wide a scope to go for, there are things like smaller gigs that I think like everywhere. Like they're in some places they float around, and they are like themed anthologies of some sort.
Yeah.
Which are group projects, and they often, so depending on what you are, whether you're an artist or writer or both, they often do look for people to contribute to them, and you can then apply and then say that you want to try and like submit something based on theme.
Yes.
You might like not get in, or you might get in and realize that and they will realize that hey, actually some things are not up to snuff, so they work with you on improving it, or they reject you and tell you for next time, depending on the deadline. But those are like small things. They're the comics equivalent of one shots, in my opinion.
Like if you think you've got as Sneaky put it together, you can combine a bunch of your ideas into one coherent idea. So if you think you've got a lot of ideas and you don't really think you can commit to making something for a really long time, because you saying one shots reminded me of this, just make one shots. It's not a deplorable act. Make a complete story. I know you want your magnum opus. I know you want your Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want my MCU. Trust me. I would definitely have people like David Blaine in it, and I would have Patrick Sutherland in it. That's not the point. Anyway, I know you want your MCU, but you're not gonna get your MCU until maybe your like 100th comic. So like, focus with the first one and just completing something. It was so much more. So it would just help you understand the difficulty of making something. And if you don't think you can make something consistent, like, the same story every week or whatever, maybe your mind is just all over the place. You can do what Jockley did. Jockley, I love that boy. I hope he's heard me say this so many times, but he does this thing where he's drawing a comic a week, every week, and he's been doing it for 100 weeks. He's on his 80th week now.
They're very self-contained, yes.
Yeah, they're very self-contained stories. They almost have nothing to do with each other. So you've got a bunch of ideas. If you can make a comic a week, it doesn't have to be super long. Just something simple where you put all your story ideas and your art in there, If you can do do it.
Yeah, so doing a comic a week is definitely a skill. Even if you want to say, I'm just gonna do like a four panel comic. It does take some skill to be able to distill what the important parts are, determine what goes into each panel, because you've got 4 to work with. It needs like the right tempo and stuff. So even a 4-panel comic, don't look down on that. Has a lot of things for you to use to like practice your skills and all.
And if you come up with ideas while making something and you're like, oh, I'm gonna lose it if I don't start doing it now, please use the very valuable action that Archangel pointed out in chat, which is anytime you have an idea, write it down somewhere. It doesn't have to be somewhere like super like, you don't have to have a notebook of ideas, but just write it down, maybe in the middle of your drawing, write it on your notepad or your drawing pad and just be like, yo, I'll come back to that. Hello, Rainbow Pegasus.
Hey, Rain, good to have you.
So like, just it's good to have those ideas. I'm not saying you having a ton of ideas and a lot of directions you want to go in is bad, but like, rein yourself in and focus on doing something at least. Don't throw away most of your ideas. Even the dumbest ideas can be good. Like, Who fucking knew that aliens in a spaceship killing a bunch of people would be an awesome idea? I didn't. Until I watched Alien. Not Aliens. And not Aliens too. What's happening to you? Is your dog wrecking the house?
Just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
I need to go and see what is happening. But carry on.
Sesame is destroying her house, guys. Godzilla has finally landed. I think that is slightly racist. I will never do that again.
Oh God! What was it? I just missed.
I said Godzilla has landed, and I felt like I just committed a crime. So I'm never saying that again.
Nah, there's stuff moving on in the background because, like, as we all know, like, for people who have followed the show for a while, Kaz is too broke to like do this up in her own room because the internet's too shite. Shite upstairs for now. And implementing a solution is going to cost extra money. So downstairs is also where the kitchen is.
It's a
which
beautiful
makes
place.
It very easy for me to get, like, snacks to sustain myself during, like, podcasts. But it also means that whenever someone is doing, like, heavy shifting and moving around the kitchen, it's a little bit.
It's great.
You know what? Let me try and close the door. I mean, even though there's an open window, it should help a bit.
It's a beautiful place in her house. Let's see. I'm gonna turn Kaz up a little bit in case her voice wasn't coming through for me completely.
There we go.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot of crockery being moved out.
Crockery.
That's why.
Hey, Jan. Hey, Theas Alonia? That is a name and a half.
Alonia. Just say Alonia. It's a simple one.
Nah, dude. You gotta say the whole name the first time they show up, because then they remember that you actually bothered.
You made an effort. An attempt was made.
Okay,
so let's get back to this thing. Like, you've said, like, I mean, a good place to start is just, I mean, I say try and do themed anthologies so you don't have to commit to a project all on your own, or self-contained, like 4-panel comics. Good example to look at. Like, it's very shitposty memey, but we all know Merryweather's, like, meme comics from time to time, and they're done with the same person from who draws Internet Explorer Chan, but these are more like current affairs memes. So things like the Pokemon.
That is, like making a master shit post comic strip. Yeah, that's good. Like, just do something that even if you think you've got a lot of ideas, you don't want to split them up into several different chapters, you want to do everything all at once for some reason, you can make just a massive anthology, as they call it. I don't know the words. Okay, I don't know how to speak English. They can make a massive anthology and just draw all of your things and put it on our Instagram, a place where they don't really expect you to have a theme, or put it on Twitter, or put it on fucking Facebook. Facebook gets you a lot of views these days. I don't fucking know until, like, yesterday. All those old people watching weird videos. So, like, try out, engage, try and just put your, because the main point of making your first piece of art or whatever that you want to put out on the internet is just to get it out there. It's not to be successful. You
get it out there, cut your teeth.
Get someone to shit on your art skills at least once. It's fine. It's not gonna kill you.
Your art skills, your writing skills, whatever it is. Like, I mean, if you we will get to this later. If you only have interest in one part, but you do want to do the other as well, then that there we'll cover that. But this is, for now, we're talking about the assumption that you want to, like, be the mostly one-man job, one-woman job as well, or one Apache helicopter job, what have you. God. It's 2019.
Get out. Yes. Let's see. On my notes for this, I will find a way to talk about comedy. Yes. Okay, I have found a way to talk about comedy. For starting out as well, if you've got a relatively passable sense of humor, and I mean passable is literally mine, and my sense of humor is dog shit. So if you have a passable sense of humor, you should probably try your first thing to be a comedy, one that allows you to take concepts that you took really seriously and put it in a context that isn't so serious. That way, even if someone calls it out, you don't get hurt. I call this the Filthy Frank method. That's exactly what he did. He took all the stuff that he really wanted to do, put them in a less serious medium, in a less serious way, so that when people shit on them or told him he was bad, he could take the criticism without feeling bad, because after all, it was just for laughs, the self-deprecation method. And it's okay, and it doesn't diminish your work. So, like, It's literally, it was just a prank, bro. Yeah, literally. It's also a good way of actually getting your stuff out there, because even if it's bad comedy, somebody will like it. People read. I'm not allowed to call out comics anymore, am I? Yeah. People read comics out there with terrible comedy for no reason, and those people make hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right. And you could probably be that person for a little bit limited amount of time just to get your name out there. So it's okay. Take your concept that you're really into, make a joke out of them, put them out there. It's fine. It doesn't diminish your work, because you can still bring back those concepts, make something serious and good, and really like actually fulfill yourself artistically. And then on the notes, we also put talk about Carrie somewhere. Carrie.
Yes. So yeah, the thing is, we mentioned Curry because I keep bringing it back to him, but I'm also slightly, well, what do I say? I have a slight vested interest because I am also his editor, and pretty much Swiss Army knife off his media whatnot.
And I love him with all of my heart, so he will always be here for us.
I mean, I think I need to compare, like, I need to contrast two people. So one is Carrie and one is Tina in how they approach their first comic. So, Carrie is what you would consider, like, he's pretty much got the chops to, like, do a comic. In terms of, but as we will discover, most people have got like mostly one side and not so much the other. So drawing, illustrating, pretty much like not bad, pretty fast. Starts doing Exco. Obviously, like streaming the process, which is great. Everyone can like appreciate it. Everyone can like ooh and ah over his pretty backgrounds, his cute girls, and
cute boys.
Is doing it where he is sketching, lining, and coloring each panel as he goes,
because Carrie is a
the
professional.
Text in, and so pretty much drawing and writing the story as per panel as he goes, and and we're just there like. Sounds a little bit disjointed, man.
Yeah. Carolus is I love him so much. I love him so much, but god damn it. It takes a certain amount of, you need to have a certain amount of balls to do that, by the way. To just be like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take everything panel by panel. Carolus is the creator of Exco.
And he streams on Twitch, by the way, so if you want to check him out, please do.
Yeah.
Do we have a shout out command yet?
We do not have a shout out command because I'm a lazy piece of shit. I will get it done. I promise.
Please, thank you. So we can actually shout out like webtoon creators who do stream on Twitch.
Indeed.
So hang on.
But Carolus is a guy who will sit there and do the least efficient method, but because it's the one he knows. But his art's also legit, so it's excusable.
He changed it though eventually, but I think the whole point was that he finally, after so Exco as his webcomic was not the first time he had tried doing like comic-y things.
Yes.
So Exco in its earlier form was an anthology, like sort of an art book / concept book that had like 4 comas about each different pen and pencil or piece of stationery. So he has drawn like those like sort of things before, and he had tried a black and white page of how Exco looks. It's very, very different to how the comic obviously looks now in Webtoon, because the black and white version was done a traditional manga style.
Yes.
Which is really, really uncommon for him. Like, really uncommon. But Webtoon doesn't really like that so much.
Yeah, they used to allow anyone to upload that, but then they took away the ability to do that. And it also doesn't work. It only works on mobile. I found that out when I was trying to read behind the GIF. And on the website, like, when you go on your desktop, it scrolls down. But on mobile, it turns into the, like, flippy pagey thing.
Is that why?
Yeah.
No, I prefer the flip pagey thing if you're reading. If you swipe left or right to flip through the pages, I quite like that.
I do too, but I don't know. They've taken it away. They're really promoting the whole infinite scrolling thing.
Infinite. That's a shame because like Tapas has one up on them.
The only one up Tapas has.
I think Tapas like you can swipe left. We digress slightly. So see. Curry uses example to prove that even if you are pretty dope at like at your at least one skill, you are still going to need to cut your teeth somewhere and learn some new things. And even if you sort of know how the comics workflow is and you've tested that before, it's not until you do like your first regular comic that you get used to like having to be consistent with it.
Yes.
And I think on the other side of the coin, before I go to Cena as an example,
Mm.
well, let's go to Mary as an example, because he had to keep like he pretty much honed his writing skills by he kept writing comics, and this is the hard part because he has to get like other people to help him. So kept asking people to help, draw stuff for not that much money at first. To it was pretty much a growing opportunity for both Mary and the artist in question. So you have Magnolia Online for this reason, which was interesting, I guess.
I mean,
In
look,
terms of its pacing.
I read it and it was alright.
Yeah.
It's
But
a
there were
manga.
others before that, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. It's a manga. I mean, like it has the standard pacing of the average manga. I will be honest, which isn't.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a good thing to say.
But he's come back and worked on it, and that's
yeah.
why you've got spawned off things like Winter Moon, which is great.
Yeah,
So-
his writing skill is legit. I like the way he writes. But you were going to talk about Stina? You can tell us about Stina?
Yes, Stina is the other end, because Stina, as we all know, she was shamelessly admit, and it's up there. It's her art skills when she started out, when she started out, like 4 quarters were definitely not there. She was pretty. That's why the podcast is called Baptism by Fire, because it talks about these people who just pretty much YOLO'd it.
Yeah.
And some way or another, whether it's YOLOing the workflow or YOLOing the fact because you don't have the skills or stuff. Stina at that time did not have enough of the writing chops to go by it. She did, however, still does some innate skill for dialogue that was on point and relatively solid pacing.
Yeah.
And like cherry picking moments like to best convey what's going on. And it's really, I think the timing, I really like how the timing was that. As she improved, the really hard-hitting moments, started coming up. So, things like the manipulative friends and stuff, and stuff like that, like, started, like, the more serious ones. So, not really a spoiler at this point, Nana's ex-boyfriend, like, pretty much, was screwing around with the housemate. That time the art was still a little bit like here and there.
Yeah.
And then later on, like you started getting to the really raw and dark stuff. Her art was pretty much caught up to what dialogue writing. Yes. Go on, Nen, do you have any thoughts on that sort of
dialogue writing is bullshit. All right, look. I thought it was really easy because I write simplistic shit characters because I am a very simple guy. But god damn it, no. Whenever you have to write dialogue to explain, whenever you have to write dialogue to don't give me that bullshit answer, sneaky. Whenever you write dialogue and you're like, oh god,
Jewel's really barking at it because she does not approve of
Jewel, how dare you? My dialogue writing is not that shit. I mean, it probably is. It's supposed to be like fluid and make sense, but people talk awkwardly. Oh my god, people talk awkwardly. People don't talk the way you expect them to talk in dialogue. And also the problem is, even if you write something the way you speak, it does not translate to reading. It does not fucking translate for shit. Like, it's okay if everyone talk differently, but like it does not translate to the way you write. Like, some things you can say, you cannot write. Oh my god, I swear to god, Jewel, you will become lunch.
Yes. Yeah, so she's barking because, like, there are people who totally, like, forget how this works. So oh god, where was
you were
where
telling
was
me
I?
about why your dog was barking, and I was threatening to turn your dog
Yes,
into lunch.
she does not approve of like that stuff. So here's the thing, like, understandably there are some people who can really imagine how people speak and how they speak really well in their heads. Some other people really can't, and I have seen a few examples of dialogue that has really let the comic down.
Yeah,
which is really sad.
It's really easy to, because it's the part that people will use to characterize an entire character.
Wow.
It's what they go to. Yeah, like it's what they use to know who the character is. In one dialogue line, you can indicate whether a character is a loud person, quiet person, angry, shitty, good, condescending. You can basically tell an entire character in maybe the first 3 lines of dialogue they've got, maybe at most.
Yeah, and because like I mean, you don't have voiceovers for the comics, unlike a cartoon. The reader has to imagine that themselves. So I mean, your choice of words, even the way you stack your words, you know, the punctuation you use, really does give away like this sort of thing.
It really tells people what you're imagining the character to be, and unfortunately, like, a bunch of characters just cannot sound the way you think they should sound. A really good
I'm really lucky. Yeah. So I'm really lucky that I get to work with people who, I mean, so Kari's pretty verbose and his vocabulary is pretty wide. So when I tell him that this character sounds a little bit too highbrow when you said that they're not so much not so hoity-toity, and this one doesn't sound hoity-toity enough, he can usually rephrase it.
Yeah.
Which helps.
Which is good.
As if I say this is a little bit too stilted, he will be able to do that.
Sneaky makes a good point.
For other
people, wait, go on. Go on, finish your thing.
For other people, I do things like what's his character's background like? I mean, their history, because that really lends like a bit of like flavor to what I am going to end up suggesting for rephrasing. So like a high commander in chief, like I'm working on Driver by X Trident.
Yeah.
So Lovey, who is the chief of the investigations police unit, she is imagined by X to have sort of a slight Russian lilt to her accent, very straight-laced person. Compared to contrast with our MC Rue, who is very like freewheeling, and also I mean pretty young too. So things like "Are we done here yet?" is the kind of stuff that you would not imagine Lovey to be saying.
Yeah, definitely.
So things like that. Okay. So, I mean, your choice of what they say in each scene really helps to set it apart. SB, you're finally here. Hi.
Sneaky makes a really good point there, which, hold on, just let me turn my microphone up. But Sneaky makes a really good point there where he says, learning dialogue through listening is flawed on the basis that your mind focuses simply on meaning rather than construction. I think seeing written dialogue is a great way to learn, even if it's just transcript of conversations. They help a ton. He is completely correct, because
this is why you read comics.
Yeah, really it is. And this comes back to the thing I said earlier, where it's like, things that make sense to say do not make sense to read a lot of the time, because when you speak any language, you tend to be using colloquialisms, and colloquialisms just do not make sense when written. They just look fucking weird, and people never know what you're saying. Like, you've probably experienced it before when you've read a comic that people are trying to string words together to show you that this person's got like a Boston accent. That's not a Boston accent. Or they're from New York. You can never like properly show that, when you're writing.
Yes, I mean you can do like those things like dropping the vowels or consonants of words, and with like those apostrophe thingamabobs, or like rewriting how like instead of I'm or so AHM rather than I
or like,
apostrophe M,
or like Sneaky did. Hello, governor, what's the weather like today?
Yeah,
it's just the standard American impression of a British accent.
Using it's like slightly only, so like instead of what's WHAT, like somebody who says WOT, like occasionally it's all right. It's like when you read on the internet, like someone does what's it is just for that bit, and that's okay. But when they start talking with all the OOs in their in a paragraph, just you don't screw with that shit.
Yeah, like it looks the Scottish Pokemon memes are beautiful. I'm just gonna say that the Scottish Pokemon, Kaz sent me all of them when they came out, and we have never bonded so fervently. But what's more important is like, what do you call it, with dialogue, even when you're writing those things to show like, oh, someone talks like with this accent, that requires, you need to remember that, especially when you're doing webcomics, which means you're putting stuff on the internet for everyone to see, that requires a high degree of understanding of English to even understand that what you're doing is making an accent. You're trying to show an accent, and a lot of people don't understand English enough to actually do that. It's really weird, but you notice it whenever you read like, some people, I have that problem sometimes when people are trying to show me that somebody doesn't speak English very well, so they write disjointed sentences, and I'm like, the fuck? Jay makes a good point when he talks about how Japanese manga gives a lot of importance to dialogue, usually with the way they use dialects and honorifics, and information like that. That's actually a good point. English doesn't have things to allow themselves to be that nuanced without having to write, without having to be relatively
That's why
stuffy.
rephrasing and localization of
Yeah,
of Japanese games is somewhat of a huge moneymaker. And sometimes not all localization teams do a very good job because they may not have understood the game properly
that's
enough,
true.
or
And
they just see the text and they just translate it.
yeah,
And sometimes that's why dubbed anime, when people get the scripts to translate,
yeah,
they don't exactly know like who's who, and so they make decisions like, I'm gonna give this person a country hick accent. Well, but it's not always the case amongst like different characters that have the same accent or dialect.
yes.
And it's like, yikes. Real
Although
yikes.
sometimes it has created some of the best content ever, like Final Fantasy
It
X.
has.
Final Fantasy X, the scene where they're like, if you laugh, you feel better, and then they stand in front of a river, and then they all shout, laugh at the same time.
Ha 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 ha. I don't know. I mean, I need to watch the Japanese version of that scene. I'm pretty sure it wasn't as
It
cringe.
was not as
I mean,
cringe.
slightly cringe.
It's just English translators are the ultimate cringe people in the universe. I love them so much.
Yes. So I mean, we got back to like we were talking about like how to start out, but then we have like, but the thing is like, once you start making it, and then you start giving it to other people feedback, or you start stepping back and analyzing your work, you then are able to figure out like where you need work on. There is no point, right, knowing I have to work on this and that without actually trying to apply it in some form, just to have a proper like concrete assessment of where you are. Even if you're doing art, you're doing writing, or you're doing both, which is what comics is.
Yeah.
No way to gauge your skill level without doing the thing, Julie.
Did you just say Julie?
Sorry. Yeah, Julie, do the thing. Do the thing. Oh god, I love Avatar. Yes, hello to the Hubcast, where we make lots and lots of pop culture references.
I mean, Kaz actually knows a lot more about pop culture than me, which is kind of terrifying. I thought I was at the pinnacle. I thought I was at the peak, but it turns out I'm not hip enough for the current squad fam that are out there.
Oh, plus. No, you just know a slightly different pop culture than I do. But yeah, I mean, I think like if you're a creator, or if you work like in allied forms, it's really important to know. I mean, to keep like keep your finger on the pulse with this sort of things.
Indeed.
You don't have to incorporate all these like little pop culture things in your comic if you're saying you're writing high fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are some nice Easter eggs you can throw in every now and again if you wanted to make like a blue piece kind of one off, or it just helps you connect with other people, really.
Indeed.
If you end up talking about comics,
it's always good to talk about the knights who say "neat." What was the name of do you remember the rabbit in Monty Python? The killer.
I don't, but I
rabbit.
have heard of the wife of Biggest Dickus.
Yeah.
Who has a name,
Biggest Dickus?
Incontinental.
Yeah, the rabbits of Carebana.
Oh god, that sounds really like, are you sure?
Yeah, he bites someone's neck out. We're getting so sidetracked. And the holy hand.
Very sidetracked. I don't. Another place is real. I mean, so we've talked about reading comics.
Yes.
We've talked about I mean, we've talked about like maybe trying out. I mean, to like cutting your teeth on like minis or anthologies, which are group
or
things.
one shots.
Yeah, we also probably should talk about the need to be actually social and meet other comic creators.
Yeah, make friends.
Yeah, when we say make friends, right, we don't talk about like just praising their comic work only.
That is so shallow.
And like just asking them really generalized questions. We're actually talking about like getting an interest in it. Like,
read someone's work, see that you like it, or give a shit about it in any form. Right?
Thoughtful commentary.
Give thoughtful comment. Genuinely, some of the best relationships you'll have with people who make stuff is just by going to their comics, reading their stuff, commenting really thoughtful, good comments. Even if it's like negative feedback where it's like, oh, I really don't like this. If you're saying it in the right way, they will like you. like they will really like the way they will like what you make. They'll like who you are. They'll check you out too. Make friends. Yes, Rice, you have to make friends to make comics. And it's okay. Like, these people you will work with on some level.
You kind of have to make friends because, right, you even if you go it alone and you publish everything like on your own, you and you said, oh, you're gonna just print it out or you just
Yeah.
distribute it online, you are still gonna need friends of some form to like
Yeah.
disseminate the fact, hey, a comic exists, you should have a look.
Yeah, man.
Because if it's only just one person saying something, it just feels kind of bad.
The only reason why anybody listens to this podcast is because we've got friends who like us enough to actually tell people that we do this. Like, you should make friends, even if you think it's gonna be a bit heartbreaking because they're gonna talk about your stuff. Maybe you can't handle what do you call it? You can't handle criticism, and that's okay. But really, just try and branch out. Try and get to know people. Get to know their work. Don't do it in a shallow way because honestly, they can tell, and they're all really good at telling. It's like, just do your best. It's not gonna hurt you too much. Too much.
Yeah, so just look at all. So this is different because EA, as we know, is a conglomerate.
Yeah.
But
I love EA, man.
in terms of comics, right?
Yeah.
If you end up like stepping on someone else, your word gets out really quickly.
It does.
It gets out a lot more quicker than you realize.
It does, but it depends on how. I also will say to people, it depends on what you say and how you say it. Like, there are lots of ways to say things. Like, I should know. I'm a person who very easily just says what he thinks. There's a lot of ways to say things, and some of them just sound like you're being salty and pointless, and some of them could be legitimate thoughts you have. Don't be afraid to say the legitimate thoughts you have about something, but do know that the person who you're saying them about could know, and just keep that in mind. Like, that's why I sit on here and I consistently talk about Rob Liefeld, because one day Rob Liefeld will know that I think these things of him.
Yeah, but by the way, guys, if you decided you want to do this whole comic thing, comicking and all things involved, they are marathons, not races.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be handing your first comic to like say Brian Michael Bendis and suddenly find yourself co-writing the next Spider-Verse thing about with him. Yeah,
it's so adorable.
What?
And the fact that there are people who I know legitimately believe that that will be them.
Yeah, see, I think what is painful is that a lot of people think I just need my Cinderella moment. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Speaking about the whole salt thing, by the way, Nen, because
Yes.
You talked about like it should be a case of you should support your peers.
Yes.
And the creators you both admire. So both like online. So online is one thing, but if you can't afford to, if you really can't afford to, buy their merch or buy the comic.
Yeah.
But,
or just give to their
it's gonna
Patreons.
sound-
Like, even $1 really helps. Like, for example, for about 6 of the creators on the server, I was and mostly still intermittently do give to their Patreons. I give to Stina, Kari, and some other people. Just intermittently, I drop in like $1 maybe this month, and I don't do it next month. But just support the people who create stuff. Like, you'd be surprised how much little things help and boost their confidence enough to just continue to create.
Yeah. Sorry, SP's like, would you really want to risk that?
Want to risk rejection letters?
No. It's minor. So you could put someone down by seemingly being indifferent. So here's the thing. It's gonna sound petty, but when creators or aspiring creators aren't, if people notice, people will notice if you don't actually go around or support them online. Like, you don't have to be super loud about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes even stuff like a retweet or like a nice comment appreciation. You don't have to do it all the time because that starts becoming a little bit like butt licking. But if you just totally isolate yourself and promote yourself only, but then you don't like sort of go out there and see what's there and leave commentary or whatever, people notice.
Yes.
Don't be the person that people notices for the bad reasons.
Yeah.
Even if they don't talk about you like doing this, they will. They will like realize it. Oh.
By the way, hi, Cutified Candy Cupcake. That is a name and a half on YouTube. Thank you for showing up. We really do appreciate it. Yeah, like Kaz is right. There are different ways to be supportive of people. Legitimately, retweets, likes, just saying something nice about them, or actually getting to know the individual's work because you really like them. I'm
getting to know the individual is hard work, though. I do it.
Yeah, it is hard work. Artists are a rare breed of human being. They both they both want friends, but don't want to. They don't have time to have friends to start off with, and even
The mental capacity.
yeah, and
The load.
sometimes yeah, and like it's just sometimes they're so introverted it's near impossible. I respect the introversion, but goddamn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it comes to like if you genuinely don't like stuff that people make, like be chill. This is coming from me. Be chill.
I think over time you will learn to also appreciate. I think most people who say I don't like the stuff you make,
Mm.
but they have at least more tact if they are creators themselves.
Yeah.
So like I can say that I'm not really a fan of like this person's art or writing style, but I can appreciate that they're trying for the most part. So
In the end, if they're creating and you're not creating, they're doing better than you. I will say that.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Also, you should also make friends not just with like pros, but aspiring creators as well.
Yeah.
Like people of similar like standing to you. Here's the reason why is because established pros, right? They'll have lots of advice to dish out to you, but they aren't your peers yet. So your peers will be other people on Twitter, Instagram, also on Line Webtoon or Tapas, wherever you upload. Conventions, you're also still figuring out. So if you figure this out together,
it's so much
chances
easier
are, yeah, if it's like together rather than like someone giving you instructions to push button receive bacon. Yes, I say this phrase a lot. Because people treat art as like do this get Y.
Yeah, it's not do this get Y. It's do
so
this.
If you have like peers who like you'll figure it out together, like your group study kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, one of you is gonna get gonna hit your break. It could be you, it could be them.
Yeah.
And unless you're a huge asshat, you are going to remember those who have been with you before you became mainstream famous or whatever have you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's when they will give you a leg up as well. When like say I've enjoyed some success, I want to bring my friends along for the ride too.
Exactly.
They've been with me when I haven't had it, so might as well.
Like, remember, like just because like you're growing together, and together your main goal is to blow up, but you're not supposed to act like you don't know nobody. All right, you get to the top, you pull everyone up. That's how we all succeed. That's how we move forward.
Outsider makes a really good point. Who goes into comics to get famous?
Oh, lots of people.
I asked that.
Lots of
I
young
asked that
people.
about like people who they go into doing art to get famous. They go into like some to a smaller extent try to write to get famous. But here's the thing: trying to like go into comics or art or like this sort of thing to become famous is, I will paraphrase a friend of mine, Anton Oxenuk, who is, oh by the way, a really good artist, but his work is a little bit more niche, not really for those people who do like anime manga waifus, but it has heart in it. It's good. So he says that trying to do that is sort of the equivalent of trying to become a rock star without putting in the hours of practice in jamming sessions.
Yeah.
And because you put the cart before the horse, saying I want to do this, get me famous. Like, yes, you want recognition, yeah, fair enough. Like, but there are other ways to get it. Some less kosher ways being do a Logan Paul and film a shit video that gets everyone mad.
This is why we haven't put out videos, because we don't want to make something that's shit.
No, I mean we are doing videos. They are just like taking a long time to write and edit because
we like good shit. We like good shit, and we also have commitments. So together they don't.
Gojira! Yes. So I mean, it's comics. There's no glory here, just suffering. Yes, yes, it's true. I mean, even like back in the days when you had like when you talk about the golden age of comics, but I think the bar has like really risen in terms of what detail people expect out of comic illustrations.
Yeah.
And I think I've tweeted it before, haven't I, Nen, about the level of detail people has somehow sharply like jumped up.
Oh yeah, you did. Like, and I completely agree with you. I remember you tweeting about this. The amount of what people demand now from a single chapter or episode of a comic is so much more than what they used to. Even when I was a kid, I used to read like Golden Age comics because my family only had old comics around, and they are so simplistic and devoid of like anything. And then you come to today's comics, and in like one chapter, they expect you to establish 900 things and have such nuanced storytelling, but don't shout everything to my face. Like the amount of stuff they expect, the amount of story plot lines you have to follow for every comic, the amount of
And
content.
also like the amount of the amount of like detail and fidelity in the art as
Yeah,
well. And it's like you want a lot of this, you want it fast. I mean, you want it every week, but you're also like demanding this level. Like sometimes I kind of feel like some comics would have been served with a slight drop in like art quality, like detail only when it needs to be done, because nobody needs a highly detailed shoe if
yeah.
it's not a close up like that. That's what I mean.
I
Stuff like that.
yeah, I will say like for a lot of people, the two things you should adopt for that situation is adopt animation styles. Like watch a bunch of videos from good animators. They're on YouTube. Like lots of them. They teach you a lot of things about simplifying your design and making things super easy, so you can take a relatively complex design and simplify it. Which is what I have a lot of the artists that work with me go through that for a while. Just we just sit down and watch animation videos. We talk about how we can simplify our designs so that we can draw them repetitively, easily, with minimal work.
Yes, Jello Apocalypse says, "Oh, did you like drawing a character? How would you like to draw this character? Same character, like in how many different poses for the rest of your life, for how many hours or something like that."
Don't fuck yourself over by going I want to make a super detailed character. That's what Unfins did. And Unfins' demon takes him so long to draw.
But the rest of it's fine. Like, and the thing is, we all like, you can see that Unfinished comic is left like deliberately a little bit more sketchy.
Yeah.
It does the job.
It does the job. It really does.
I mean, unless you're really going for like full-on graphic novel style where you only publish once every quarter or something like that.
Artemis Fowl.
But yes, I mean, you can't expect a comic to update weekly. And I mean, or things like even like manga, like where the author is drawing 2 pages or plus a week.
Oh, God.
If you go that way. Hang on.
It's just prepped.
I really feel bad for those comics they could have done with a less harsh schedule. Probably loads of media. Yes, I mean, people are more demanding across the board. Like binge watch culture has done a number on us. Like because like the amount of media that we have at our fingertips has exploded, we sort of demand it now and demand it fast.
Yeah, that's true.
And
actually, that's reminded me of a point. Sorry, I should have made this point last week. No, not last week. Last podcast episode, I should have made this point, but I'll make it here. The amount of content on the internet tends towards infinity, and that means there is a super high supply of content, which is also a good reason to explain why a lot of your stuff, a lot of your content, for some people seems to have no value, despite the fact that you've put in a lot of work into it. It sounds really shit, but like the more content there is, the more likely people are just to believe it to be worth less, just because there's more of it. They think, why?
Because it's there as well.
Why pay for your stuff when I can go and get that guy's stuff for free? And in their head, it's better or whatever. So like, a lot of people will make those comments to you about your stuff. Just don't take it to heart. That's all I wanted to say. It really gets. If
Mary had $1 for everyone who was complaining about the fact he was, shilling his Patreon, and they're like, time to delete this beg tune.
Yeah, it's like, dude, shit costs money to make.
Yeah.
Shit costs time.
All the people. Yeah, I mean, if we had $1 for everyone who complained about that, like the Patreon would be like, double what it is. But the thing is, like, the elder people who understand have just quietly left Patreon dollars.
Yeah, it's been so good. People are
all works out.
Humanity's so good. Let's see.
What else did we see in notes?
Well, the next thing
we have to talk about collaboration soon.
Yes, and we have to talk about the 2 points there, which are Carrie and Soph. I need to make better points.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty much helping you, like, wing it. So collaboration. So I touched on this briefly when I talked about like themed anthologies and the like. But I mean, collaborative Kickstarter projects also count. So if you have the time and ability, like you can probably, if you have a vision, you can create your own and invite like good folks as who you see as peers or potential work partners, and to like take part in this sort of thing.
Yeah, make a circle. it's actually a really good way to make friends as well as to just make
Yeah,
stuff with people. That way, your content and their content gets to exist in the same space, and you get to kind of
learn from each other.
learn from each other. Another thing you
It
can
also like
do is join
yeah, sorry, man.
competitions. Sorry, the other things you can do is join competitions. Jay let me in to know about a competition. Jay Espin, who's currently watching right now, let me in to know about a competition from the r/comic collab subreddit. And it's not a paid submission. It's just bragging rights, but it allows you to find writers to work with and colorists and whoever, and you learn to work with people, you learn to develop a workflow. It's not about winning, it's about just making something. Although winning does give you the bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
So like engage with those things. They are very good for you as a creator, and collaborate with people, learn to work with other people, because eventually if you're doing well enough, you have no choice.
You will definitely have to work with other people. Like, I mean, for things like presences, you can't do it all on your own. Like, as much as you'd like to think that, Line Webtoon likes to sell the Cinderella story of someone like going at it alone and
Yeah.
being up like, but then when you get to featured, you are still going to be working with an editor at least.
Yeah, at least an
So,
editor.
that's really one person.
Maybe a colorist if you're lucky, and you don't have time. You're working on multiple things. You're working with editor, colorist, maybe a writer if you're in a duo.
Yeah, or you might have like a big team and all that. And for the love of God, whatever you do not go into a team just to be the ideas guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you ever say you are the ideas guy in anything, and Jay, we will destroy the competition. I enter the competition with Jay. If you ever say you're the ideas guy in anything, go fuck yourself.
Yes, because the thing is, right, the only thing that you are is involved in some like surface level, and the rest of them are actually committed.
Yeah. Like, your idea is only as valuable as the paper it's printed on. And since it's printed on no paper, it's valuable for shit. You need to be capable of executing your idea on some level. Even if it's like project management and sketching out like a timeline of how you think work should go down. That is stuff to do. Don't be the ideas guy. Because the ideas guy sucks.
Be the guy with ideas who also gets his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Or her hands dirty.
Unknown asked me what competition. Unknown. Sorry, Kaz, I was gonna tell him. Unknown. There is a competition on the r/comic collab subreddit where people are supposed to work together to make a comic. That is a sci-fi comic. There's more details on the subreddit, but it's a great thing for you to enter if you haven't really made anything that's a comic yet in a while. I'm entering it with Jay. We were going to look for more people. It's all about bragging rights and just creating shit. There's no money or anything, so it's a big incentive to just learn how to work with people and learn how to your workflow works. So check that out if you haven't. I just had to put it out there now because I really like the idea. Anyway, you were going to say something, Kaz.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking at what Scarlett said about anyone can make ideas even if they don't come easy, or especially if they do come easy because they're not exactly your best idea.
Ideas are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, it's only until you start like honing them, and then you go, oh, actually.
Indeed, and it's when you're collaborating with people, you want to make sure that you're in an equal partnership. And equal is a very relative term. Equal just means that the two of you feel like you both bring enough to the table for whatever you're both taking away from that table. Even if all you're taking away is the fact that your names are on that comic. So, hey Mac, welcome. Thanks for showing up, buddy. But
yeah.
Make sure like
we're like about halfway into it, but we're talking about the collaboration part now.
Thank you, Kaz. Make sure that you and your partner or partners feel like you're working together with this project. Maybe how do I put it? A good example would be Sophism and Ephemeris, who make Purple Hyacinth. I knew I was gonna get a place to talk about Sophism in there. Sophism and Ephemeris, who make Purple Hyacinth. When they were on the podcast a few episodes ago, they said, yo, we work together very much. We write together. We draw art. We work in art together. They talk about how they write and they're
short of pooping together, by the way.
Pretty much, they converse about what they write together, and that's very important in a relationship with the artist. A lot of artists seem to think that when it comes to writing, they're of no value, and I say to that, yo, dudes, your name's gonna be on this. You need to give a shit what the writer has put down. Read it, argue with them. It's okay to argue when you work with people. It's like the best thing ever. An argument where you work with someone and you figure it out, and then you like get to the end and you're like, you know what, guys, this is a really good, better idea we should implement.
But just remember that when they're arguing or disagreeing, it's only, you know, it's criticizing the idea. Doesn't mean that they are criticizing you as a person.
Yeah,
and it's very hard for people, yeah, to, because they tie their identity to, like, you know, the ideas and stuff they come up with.
Yeah.
It's also the same for the art, by the way.
Also,
if people critique
yes,
the art,
it's
then they're
true.
critiquing you as a person.
Also, understand that like the fact that they're bothering to argue with you is evidence that they give a shit. Legit, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue if I don't give a shit. I don't know about you, but I would never argue if I don't give a shit about something.
I mean, I think the biggest like question people have is like, I mean, they always keep saying like, where, I mean, I don't know how to make friends, or like I don't know how to find people to work with or stuff like that, and they often they often don't realize that they've already started in some form, like just by coming on here and watching this and watching our stream. Sometimes the people who say, how do you make friends, is already, it's already a start, because they are coming into contact with other fellow creators or
Indeed.
aspiring creators.
Indeed, this woman knows
And
what
like
she's talking about.
Discord.
Discord is the best thing ever. But you know, even when you come on here, if you see somebody you like the way they talk about art, like just DM them on Twitch and be like, yo, or YouTube or whatever, and be like, yo, where can I get your Discord, bro? Or you know, or your Telegram. I know the kids like to use the Telegram these days. Or
What do you mean?
I'm so out of touch with the youth.
Oh dear Lord.
You know, just legitimately connect with people using what you can and be like, yo, I like your art. I like the way you talk about stuff. Let's talk about writing. Trust me, you can have some really weird conversations about writing with people you didn't think you ever would. Yeah, those darn kids and their fucking flip phones.
Yeah, there is the app called Telegram. That's what Nan is talking
Those
about.
Nokia Ericssons.
Nokia. What do you mean Nokia?
Sony
Ericssons?
Ericssons. I made a mistake. Okay, don't judge me.
Sony Ericsson used to be a thing, and now it's just Sony.
Yeah,
and
I'm
Ericsson
so depressed.
are somewhere else.
The Sony Ericssons came with built-in Walkmans, man.
Oh dear Lord, yeah, those days called Sony Walkman technology. But yeah, if you can afford it, go to cons and look at what is happening out there.
Yeah.
You don't have
and
to.
don't
like,
go to the expensive cons. The expensive cons are where all the fucking nerds are, the fucking cosplayers. Screw those people. Go to the cheap cons. That's where the artists are, because they can't afford tickets too.
Oh gosh.
You're all poor together.
No, but yeah, you do meet quite a lot of like, you know, cool people there. If you already are working on something, it's also a good chance to get portfolio reviews. I know Line Webtoon sometimes have a presence at certain cons, but those are bigger ones.
They're usually relatively large, yeah.
Yeah, and if you can, yeah, just bring your work there.
Yeah.
I moderate for Art Gym, and he has told me about like people who they do legit bring their work to show him. That sort of thing. It applies to comics as well. If you know a comic creator is going to be at a convention and you admire them,
and they're chill people, and you've checked beforehand that they're cool with talking about it. I will say, like, some booths are really not cool with you talking about your work with them, because they're so busy, and maybe they're going to see so many fans, and they're more about the fan visit. So, you know, legit, if you see a creator you like, say on Twitch or Instagram or whatever, yo, I'm gonna be at this con at this time. Like, I'm gonna be at MCM Comic Con, not MCM. I'm gonna be at a different Comic Con, you know, and you want to see that person and be like, yo, check out my work. Like, you know, just DM them and ask them, or like, you know, put in a comment underneath what they're asking, and be like, hey, I've got some work and I really want you to look at it because you're someone I admire and I think is capable. Are you cool with someone bringing stuff to the table? They will respond. Usually, they're not dickheads most of the time. I'm so upset that I can't say that statement definitively.
Yep.
So like,
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, you know, give that a shot too. Like, the worst they can tell you is no, and no is like the most harmless answer in the world. Uh, you can kill someone if you throw an engage at someone's head.
Ouch. Engage.
I love the
Oh
engage. Did you
gosh.
not have? Did you have an
Yeah.
engage? You had. Did you have an engage when you were growing up?
I did not.
Really?
I had I had a different Nokia phone. I didn't have a cell phone around the time when people were owning Nokia 3310s, by the way.
Okay. I had a 3310
Yeah.
when it came out. And then I
Yeah.
upgraded to an Engage because I thought I was a badass. I had the cartridges. I was so cool. And then there were like 9 games on it.
Yeah, but people be as resilient as Nokia. Like
No.
they have gone through the rise and fall and slow rise again now at the moment.
Slow rise. I'm so
So
terrified as to what they'll do.
yeah, but I think they're great and it can
Yeah.
they're worth it. Like
Maybe it's
but it's
enabling.
really interesting to see how they've been trying to bounce back from all their former glory.
Oh yeah, that's actually been quite an entertaining thing. First, Microsoft bought them, then Microsoft sold them away to themselves.
What?
I think Microsoft sold Nokia's rights back to Nokia. I'm not even sure anymore.
Yes. In any case, right? We're still back talking about the collaboration thing.
Yes.
Like I think we say about learning how to argue is a really really important skill. Like I mean, and then you collaborate on a deeper level with artists because you write and then they draw.
Yeah,
So
I collaborate with currently 3 artists, and they all argue with me, but only because I make them argue with me. Uh, which is a very strange
then
thing
do
to
you
say.
do you get confrontational with them on
I
purpose?
no, I tell them, yo, say something, and because they don't say anything about whatever I write. I could write literally, and he took a shit in the park, and they'd be like, that's some good writing, because they don't want to upset me. So I've taken to just telling them very outrightly, say something. I swear to fucking God, I just wrote dog shit in there. I know it's there. you know. So I'm relatively confrontational to make them also say something about the work because we are working on it together, and I want them to be able to give me input because I want them to be proud of whatever we put out. And we do get into a couple arguments about looks and things like that. It's very helpful. It allows me to rephrase it allows me to reposition my ego. Because whenever you're making something, you have a little bit of an ego. But it also allows me to show them why I've done something that I think is good. So if I really like, if I'm, oh, Ian Mac, thank you so much for the follow.
Yeah.
You are excellent. You're a chub. You're a chub and a half, buddy. A half chub. But I do get them to engage with me on this because it's all about us liking what we make, you know. Sneaky, thanks for the follow, buddy. I didn't think I do appreciate it. You're very sneaky breaky, cheeky breaky Estonia.
Yeah, that's how he got his
Is that how he got his name? Seriously? Arche Lacuna, thanks for the follow. Is that how I say your name? Arche Lacuna? Arche Lacuna?
Arch Lacuna? Or just call it Lacuna.
Lacuna. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
trying to do the
right.
whole thing. But yeah. Get into the argument with them. To really get into the conversation with them. Know what they like. Know what they don't like. Find out why they think the fact that you said that Helen Mirren was picking up the bottle in the room for the 5th time is a stupid fucking idea. It's really valuable to know. It grows you as a writer. It grows them as an artist, and it helps them. You can teach them writing techniques because they need to understand writing techniques to be able to work with you, but they can also teach you artist techniques so you understand what you can and cannot write about. Like, for example, I'm writing a comic called Daffodil with Jan Sheena. She's watching on YouTube right now, and I regularly write things in that Jan is just like, no. She said to me at least twice, no, we're not doing that. I had to describe, and also something that I don't put enough description for people. I put a lot of background description. I don't put a lot of human description. So I described a character as fat, and then Jan was like, "How fat?" And I was like, "Real fat." Like
they need
fat.
that information because like you can see them sort of halfway in your head, but if you don't give that description enough, like it's not like your artist is a mind reader. There are some artists like writer teams who do they do like good things on like the bare minimum of like description. So Rainbow Pegasus, right? I've seen some of his instructional sketches to his artists. They are MS Paint stick figures.
I love you, Rainbow.
I don't know, like I don't exactly know how
He
how
is my
his
boy.
creator how his like artist turns it into a masterpiece, but
Shh,
they
no,
are
goddamn.
legit. Yeah. So as we can confirm, Brain has a
Rain is the real
sick
OG.
man
Bless his
storyboard.
soul. I'm so I will apologize, RK Lacuna. Thank you so much. I'm just remembering to say your name correctly, Arc Lacuna, and
Yes.
what do you call it? Yeah, Rain. That's legit. Not gonna lie, I'm very much a writer guy about the descriptions, but sometimes I just slack on characters because I think it's pretty obvious. But it's my
You think, but it's
yeah,
only you who
exactly.
think.
My artist is. I think she's Chinese. I need to ask these questions more often. My artist is
Dude.
not a native English speaker, and I am a native English speaker. So things that
Oh my
I
god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white. You must ask people what they're
Jesus
Chinese.
Christ. So things that I think are normal and things that I'm like, oh, this is obvious. Like I'd be like, he looks like fucking. I forgot the name of the. He looks like Jerry from Seinfeld. You know, people would be like, oh, okay, I get what you're talking about. But if they're not native English speaker, they're like, what the fuck? Who's Jerry? Who the fuck is Jerry? You know. So getting better at being descriptive, drawing stick figures is really good. And them knowing your artist limitation is really good, or like knowing the fact that Genshina does not do action. You know.
Hmm.
So I've removed action from the entire story, which is fine.
That's one thing that Mary does very well with this artist. Like he knows where their strengths and weaknesses
Indeed.
lie, and I mean tries to adjust the story and description so that they will continue being happy working on the comic.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't give. I mean, he wouldn't give like something like Fox Girls to someone like someone else who doesn't like this kind of
Meme
slightly
stuff.
highbrow meme humor, slightly
Highbrow meme humor. That's what you want to
Yeah,
call
you
it.
see, the thing is, right, if any like people can, like, most people who have some form of meme skill can just make a meme reference direct. It takes some skill, like between Mary and Lost Paws and Kari, to weave it properly to a somewhat more coherent storyline. So
Yeah, it's true.
you can't just throw in a reference and expect the comic to work that way. That's not how it
Yeah, you need a lot more. You need a lot more to. You need to make sure you get someone that understands what you're doing to a high level. Someone who gets it. Someone
Mhm.
who you understand. I am solely a writer, but and because I am solely a writer, I'm just gonna explain it because he's asked. I also understand the fact that my work, at least to me as a writer, my work is like 5% of everything. So so I have a very different take on the whole writer artist relationship. I should talk about that sometime, but that's a different thing.
We could talk about it briefly before signing off, because we've about maybe like 10 plus minutes or so.
Yeah, we have been
Because
we
we've
have
been
we
going
have
on
about
and
10
on.
more minutes. Let's see. I think before we do that, we should just fucking summarize what we do, summarize what we think, what we've said today.
Yeah, basically. So if I mean, basically, you can quote Lincoln, or what from Zelda. It's dangerous to go alone. Take
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, pretty
That's pretty
much.
much comics for you. It's dangerous to go alone,
It's
but
dangerous to go
it's
alone. Sometimes you need
really
Navi,
it's
and sometimes you
yeah.
need a actual companion that will make sure you don't die.
Like, even if you want to say, like, you want to be like isolate yourself, and get people notice you, and they will and you'll pay for your stuff, and you don't want to accept any outside
Mm.
legs up or collaborations or whatever. It's very, very rare, and you have to be very, 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 very good. Like, you're talking about like not having input from people at all, kind of good.
That's true.
This is difficult to achieve, like very
You
difficult.
need to be a wunderkind, like.
You need, I mean, one way or another, when you're creative, you will end up getting input sometime or other,
Yeah,
even if it's like really minor things,
even by
like, yeah.
accident.
Yeah, even by accident. You always you can't you never you never exist in a vacuum.
And you
Your
know
work never exists in a vacuum.
exactly. And you also never get better on your own. No matter how much you think you did, it took someone telling you, or someone making work that you learned from, or some YouTube video. So it's just learn to engage with the people outside, and
those of you who say, I self-taught myself.
You
Yeah,
watch
well,
like
you
9 YouTube
basically
videos.
you didn't have like a curriculum that someone dictated to you. You dictated your own curriculum. You still used material from someone else.
You did. And that someone else is responsible for everything you are right now to some degree. So, it means that you can work with other people's information and you can work with input. So, get some input from some live people who can live give you input. Come,
Wow, Nen, that's
yeah,
so
that's so,
verbose.
so
Are you sure
verbose.
you're a writer again?
Yeah, I know, right? I am big boy. I am big boy dialogue man.
Uh,
If you think that your friends suck, big dunk big cojones, then you can come and ask me to give you input. I'm not gonna promise you that it'll be amazing, but it'll be something.
oh, by the way, right? By the way, unlike in illustration or writing, in comics, you don't really have an established culture of sending samples or promos or cold calling because
Mm,
most publishers, I mean, this is like we're talking about like print publishers, right?
yeah,
They actively discourage sending unsolicited samples.
they
So
do.
if you want to like put your work out there quote unquote unsolicited, use your social media or like all these like comic uploading platforms. You don't you don't send in your stuff as an unestablished or even somewhat established person
Yes.
to a publisher and go, hey, I do this, hire me to like write some good shit. And also, yeah, if you want to do like licensed properties, you're not going you don't expect to like go in with a portfolio that doesn't have sequential art in it, and because no one's going to trust you with a monthly comic,
Oh yeah.
or
And also,
if you don't even have a show.
she's right. But also, if it's for something that's relatively small that you want a license for, I actually found out that it's ridiculously easy to get a license for a lot of shit. Like, it's stupidly easy to get a license for a lot of properties that you would think are valuable. So, look into it.
You like what?
I found out that you could get the Battletoads license for very cheap.
Ned, why did you not get it?
One, because no. Two, because I didn't really want it. I don't like Battletoads.
Traditional yeah, traditional like the comics industry really, they kind of discourages cold calling.
Yeah, they discourage cold calling, they discourage cold. Just, look, just make sure that whatever you're sending people, they want it. Consent is key.
Oh my god, like this whole tea thing. Like, if they don't want tea,
They
don't
want tea.
make them tea. Don't
I
make them
hate
drink
that
tea.
thing. I hate that thing because if my mother or anyone comes to my house and I do not make them a cup of tea to drink and I don't hand them a cup of tea, they would slap the shit out of me. Like,
Oh bless. Well, they're really British.
yeah, they're very British. My friends are coming over and I go, I need to make a cup of tea.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess it's.
But
What? Anything else you want to add, Kaz?
I mean, should we just basically? I mean, basically the summary is don't go it alone. I mean, just do it is a very general answer, which is what you get when you ask a general
Yeah.
question. So you need to actually ask specifics if you are looking for advice.
Yes.
Same applies to when you're writing or when you're like doing actual art. I mean, don't ask stupidly general questions
Exactly.
if you're really serious about this. And also like
Use YouTube a lot.
if you're doing this, you're gonna be in it for the long haul.
Oh yeah.
And don't make your pet project story your first ever story. Do small things like one shots, graphic and anthologies. And they let you cut your teeth in a smaller like commitments.
See if you like
and
creating.
you feel like you produce something.
Indeed.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't feel like you have to work on this whole like 280-page graphic novel before you can like put it out in some form and no one's ever seen it and stuff.
Nah, you're right. You're right.
Cut your teeth, that sounds so bad.
Cut your
What
teeth
does that
sounds
say?
awful, but it is a good saying.
English.
Okay. Well, I think as we said earlier, Mosa Box gives us the lifeblood to continue by paying us when you pay him. So give us money by giving him money. Use our code WCHUB on his site to get $5 off some sexy 2B posters, as I said earlier. And if you are a creator who's making things, thinking that you're making things is very make things making, then maybe you should talk to him about how to sell your things, but on T-shirts, posters, postcards, and other things. So if you can get in contact with Moso by just joining our Discord server and literally searching the name Moso and DMing him. He is very, very reachable, and he is very willing to talk. He's also in chat now, so you can pretty much just, if you feel like making some stuff, message him. Let me see. Someone just sent a message that held by Automod. Did you allow it? Okay, cool. Someone allowed it.
Did.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to make something, if you want to make, if you, if you want to sell some good stuff that you, because you make some good art and you think that most would be interested, reach out to him. Ask him to sell your good art. He will probably do it, and he will give you a nice cut for selling your good art at conventions and on his website. I am definitely not reading from zero. Yeah, there is 0 bar for entry. And this month's also one of the things that we're adding to the end of streams from now on are this month underrated comics. At the end of every stream for the month, we'll say them every time. And this month's underrated comics are Playing with Giants by Sleazy Chimp, Who Are You by Fleor, and hold on, I'm scrolling up to the list. And The Adventures of the One-Up series by Geek Boy Studios. You can find all of these on Webtoon and on Tapas. For the Adventures of the One-Up series, I will recommend going to Tapas to read that one, actually, because he has gifs in it and they're so good. They're so good. Mm-hmm. So let's see. That's almost everything. And final thing, I want to thank our patrons on Patreon. You are one of the things that keeps us going and helps us do them. And for this month's patrons are our Lord and Savior Archangel, Nick the Halfling, and Ayashi. Literally, I asked him if he wanted to have a ridiculous name. He said no, so he's calling him Ayashi. If you would like to donate to our Patreon and give us some of your money that you have worked hard to earn so that we can use it to work hard to do other things, consider supporting us on Patreon. We only have a $1 tier, but we are thinking of making higher tiers the more people come up. And we are also thinking of making some exclusive things just for Patreon. For example, we've had one conversation about making before every podcast as an artist, getting a comic and then making dramatic readings of them and posting them just on Patreon.
I'm going to take part as well with my best attempt at a lollipop.
This is what we've got. All right, guys, we've got some serious firepower in this voicing.
God no.
So if you want to support us and see some, nah, it's too late.
Satan made me do it.
You already did it. I did not make her do that. If you wanna,
I said Satan, not you.
Oh, Satan made you do it. So if you want to support,
no, I totally stole that line from Andy.
If you want,
no, Jesus Christ. you can give us one-off tips besides the Patreon.
Yes,
we do
can.
Continued sustenance,
yes.
But if you can tip us one-off.
I swear to God, I made a Ko-fi and I have not put it up, but Kaz will kill me if I don't do it. But we did make a Ko-fi. Yay! We made a Ko-fi. You can support us on Ko-fi, which is a beautiful way to give us your hard-earned money.
We send most of the money to pay our artists, and also little things here and there, some of the software, we just put that money towards subscriptions.
Yeah, we also put it towards just getting video production to be done quicker and stuff like that. So it really does help us. So follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. You know our names, Webcomics Hub. Freaking donate to us on Patreon or on Ko-fi, one-time off donations if you feel like it. And thank you for everything. We have 3 patrons now, and I told everyone in the group, and we got hella excited for 5 minutes.
Yeah. You can also follow us on YouTube and subscribe over there.
Oh my fucking God, she is the devil.
There you go, Arthur, that's another one for you.
Anyway, we will, and
good God.
Thank you so much for showing up to today's podcast. We will see you next week, actually, not in 2 weeks. Next week, we will be talking to
we got Unfins,
he
yes.
gave me $1. He gave $1. But yeah, we'll be talking to Unfins, the creator of the great
Love Advice
from the Great Duke of Hell.
Which is really funny, and you should read it if you haven't already.
It's
one of the top 4 of the recent webcomics contest.
And it is actually the best comedy webcomic out right now that isn't from Shen. So
yeah, I mean there is a retro comic. I mean, there is a retro cartoon reference in there.
Yeah.
And it's done so deadpan that I really love it.
It's good. It's good content. So check that out. I'll see you guys next week on the 16th of March for the Cast with Unfins. Thank you so much for showing up. You guys are amazing. Goodbye. Good night. And I was going to say go fuck yourselves, but that was really rude.
Jeez, man.
Thanks, YouTube. Thanks, Twitch. Bye.
Take care, you guys. See ya.